Hello, my fellow colleagues. My name is Orlando Miller, and I'm here to discuss my topic of my final capstone video presentation. The title of my presentation is The Prevention of Ankle Injuries in the Sport of Basketball Through Recreational Competitive Settings. To start off with, the topic is the introduction. So the purpose of this whole project was to study and examine the measures of high school and college basketball players take to prevent ankle injuries during basketball activities. My research questions, or the central research questions that abide by my topic, was what strength training measures are taken by high school and college athletes to prevent ankle injuries, and then what ergonomic measures are taken by both high school and college athletes for dealing with basketball players to prevent ankle injuries. So going into dealing with my faith, everything connects to what God has planned. So the connection that what God brings to me, He makes this plan work. He got me to this point, and I'm going to follow suit to whatever He puts me to and points me across to. This also brings a calling to me to help kids and athletes to help better themselves both on and off the court. Explain to them that life is big and understand that whatever comes at you, just always stay positive. My faith brings me joy that to know that what I'm doing also helps create a positive outlook for those that may not have thought about getting to this point. Shows that you can reach any possibility that you can make. My next aspect of it was this shows a testimony for me because I've been through ankle injuries before. I've been a basketball player, and I know how ankle injury feels. I know what the procedure was. So just getting through this topic brings back memories and also shows that the information I can bring out, I hope that can bring awareness to those that need it. So I have 3 scholarly articles that go with my topic, bringing into the notion that everything connects as one. So my first scholarly article goes by Mr. Benon and his colleagues. The purpose of his article was to estimate the incidence rate, or IR, of first-time ankle sprains among high school and college athletes competing in high-risk sports and to determine if the risk of ankle injury is different between both male and female athletes, between college and high school athletes, and between the sports of basketball, soccer, lacrosse, and field hockey. The participants that played in this role were about 900 individuals, 544 females, and 357 males. Subjects were included in the study if they had not experienced or prior ankle or lower extremity injury, and then followed during playing days. The results from this article show that risk of suffering an ankle sprain was higher for women than for men. The difference was not statistically significant, but was to increase the risk in female basketball athletes compared to male basketball athletes. So it shows that through their research, it shows that female athletes tend to have a little bit more injury prone or ankle injury prone towards than men when it comes to basketball. My next scholarly article deals with Mr. Jerome de Moza and his colleagues. The purpose of this article was to examine isokinetic functional and conventional torque ratios around ankle joint in young basketball players. In dealings, it basically explains how to develop muscular strength and balance around the lower limb joints to help prevent injury for basketball players, and also in order for them to have peak performance on the court. Basically how the purpose of this article was. The participants that played in this role were 180 boys divided into 6 groups from 12 to 17. And then they volunteered for this aspect as well. They had to get a consent form. One way to make the study work was they used a three-way analysis of variance, also called a ANOVA, which is designs that indicates that the absolute isokinetic planar and dorsiflexion strength increased from 12 to 15 years old, and then demonstrated a plateau until 17 years old. The ANOVA tests were also used to examine the effects of angular velocity, which was another type of muscle action used for when they show through the athletes moving. Keying into the ankle aspects. A cyber norm dynamometer was also used to measure isokinetic movements. So the results of this indicates that the plantar flexors are stronger than dorsiflexors when the angular velocity increases, but then also shows that the concentric isokinetic strength of both plantar and dorsiflexors decreases. And then my final scholarly article that I'll talk about deals with Mr. Moeller, his colleagues as well. For his purpose was to determine the effect of fibular reposition tape, or also called FRT, on the incidence and severity of ankle injury in basketball. So the participants they used were 125 male basketball players aging the range of 13 to 23 years old. They are also included in this study. Participants were assigned at time of play to either control group or the FRT condition in a matter of convenience. The controlled participants had a choice on the use and type of prophylaxis, excluding the FRT aspect. The FRT participants were taped and then used the methods as seed B. The results of this article were all injuries occurred in the subjects with a history of previous ankle sprains. Significantly less ankle injuries were sustained by members of the FRD condition, so that shows a big time, and then compared to the members of control groups as well. The odd of sustaining ankle injury was when taped with FRT, and the number needed to treat was significantly low. So that shows a big aspect of dealing with the tape, and also an ergonomic measure. So methodology of my topic and my process that I use was dealing with the quantitative data analysis, and then I used a type of survey that utilized a total of 40 questions and utilizing a Likert section and using a lot of yes or no and multiple choice questions. The participants that I used were high school and college basketball players, both boys and girls. And then the survey instrument I used was also the AIS, which is the ankle injury survey. The procedure used was basically giving students consent form, both minor and regular consent form. If the minor were under the age of 18, they'd get assigned by a parent or guardian. And then set that out. Once I receive those, get the questionnaire, get it back, and then study my results. So from my results that I used from this project, it shows that from the demographics that I had a majority of minorities, both African American and then Latinos, that did this survey. There were more boys than girls that did this survey that I was able to get across. And then as far as basketball position wise that did this survey, there were more guards than centers/forwards that did this survey. So leaning into the strength training question, dealing with the question that I dealt with, most agreed that they would like to have a resistance training program that's aided or catered to ankle exercises to help strengthen and better themselves when it comes to ankle injuries, to help prevent that and also reduce if they had received an ankle injury beforehand. And then also most agreed that stretching will help reduce ankle injury, to help loosen the joints and to keep moving in that aspect. So leaning and also into the ergonomic measures part of it. Some participants agreed that they don't no specific treatments to take care of themselves when injury, i.e. an example would be the rice treatment, the rest, ice, compression, and elevation. A lot of kids did not know that aspect, so they keened upon um, seeing things on the internet and coping from other teams that they see how things work and go from there or ask their parents how to figure it out. And then another thing was most are willing to know more and gain the knowledge on how to prevent and reduce ankle injuries. So they have the willingness to learn and understand how ankle injuries happen, what they need to accomplish, what kind of treatments that they need to do when it happens, and then how to prevent that aspect. So very big key aspects on those parts. So for the conclusion of this project and what I've learned from this was that I found that in similar and current research that are ongoing right now figures out the best ways to prevent and reduce ankle injuries. So it's still progressing and showing that ankle injuries are happening, and research is still accumulating to show that um, there needs to be more. There needs to be more data and showing what needs to be done. And also shows that athletes need to be aware of injuries and it could happen and learn the right information. Some people, they did not know what the right information was. They were given a different direction on how to treat their ankles, and it went the wrong way and did not know that they did not need to use that type of procedure or treatment or any other aspect to help better their ankle injury. So just giving them the right information, the right way to treat themselves will help them better and help improve their knowledge and understanding. So as far as the implication aspects goes, when it comes to high schools, I believe that coaches should be trained on the basic skills for wrapping and treating ankle injury. Some coaches don't know. They don't take that initiative to understand that, and I think they need to really indulge themselves in knowing how to help their athletes get better and how to treat their athletes if necessary, if it happens in practice, know how to treat it, and instead of just letting it be. When it comes to college section, there should be at least an athletic trainer between practices and games to help treat an injury there. There always should be, but for some, they don't have the funding for athletic trainers to be there all the time, or just even there in general. So I think that should be a very big aspect to help build. So as far as my recommendations and future research, more research should be, of course, happening for ankle injury prevention, which I think is still ongoing and building upon, but I think there's enough data and understanding that I think there should be a little bit more to build upon. Also try different methods and scenarios of treating ankle injuries. I understand that the rice treatment also helps the basic aspects, and it's pretty much the most common one to use. But I think nowadays the technology and that we have going on and the kinesiology aspects dealing with this, I think there should be more ways to help benefit from the rice treatment and everything else from there. And then finally, more research on shoe wear for ankle injuries. When it comes to shoes, kids like to have the low, mid, or high top type of shoes. And when it comes with style, that's all they care about. They don't care about the safety aspect. So I think that kids should know what they're getting, what kind of shoe that they're getting. If they're getting a low top shoe, they need to understand what the risks are when you have a low type shoe, and what it entails where it comes to mid level and high top level. So I think they need to have that information known for them. So thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, feel free to jot them down. Thank you.